like always, talk a little bit about the weekend and then look forward to this week's game, certainly. And just going back to Saturday, as I said, it was a tough loss, very disappointing loss for everybody involved. And one thing we always, talk about, it's always a team loss. Anytime, you come off the field without a victory, that's certainly the case. And everybody's got ownership, coaches, players, everybody's got ownership, and it's always been that way, always will be. Circle back and just, touch on one thing. I was asked after the game, did I have any concerns? And maybe I missed the obviousness of that question, but anytime you lose a game, you're concerned about everything. And first and foremost, it's your players. That's the first thought I always have after a ball game or during any game, and that's certainly the biggest thing. Losing is tough. It's always been tough. It always will be tough. There's nothing fun about it, nothing enjoyable, certainly. And you think about our players, but it's true at every level. This is what they're invested in. This is what they're trying to do well. And come up short is always disappointing. Certainly the case there, and same thing with our staff. But the one thing I've said consistently, and I'll continue to say, we've got a quality group of people, and we'll keep pushing forward. Again, it is challenging, and the reason is everybody's invested. I know full well the players' investment over the last 9 months. Certainly know the coach's investment, and then there's an emotional aspect too. Anytime you come up short, and it's just not much fun. Never has been, never will be. And I guess if you learn anything in your time, if you're paying attention, it basically gets back to just getting back to work. And two things: you have to stay together as a group, stay together as a team, and then work to push forward. And I don't think it changes much off that. It's a lot easier to talk about that than actually do it, and it's all about the doing that's going to bring on better results. So that's really kind of where we're at right now. And coached at every level, high school, pro, collegiately. It doesn't change. Losing's losing. It's not much fun. And the key thing for us right now is to work on solutions, trying to get better. That being said, we're moving forward now to Michigan State this weekend. Second Big Ten game, first one at home, obviously. So captains, same four guys there. You got Joe Evans, Jay Higgins on the defense, and then Luke Lachey, Cade McNamara offensively. Caleb will not be out there. Caleb Johnson, J.S. Patterson, they'll still be out another week at least. Michigan State comes to town. They're a 2-2 football team right now, 0-1 Big Ten record. And they look a lot like what you'd expect of Michigan State. They're big, they're physical, got good athletic ability, and certainly got talent at every position. So as we look at them, a lot of parallels from what we saw a couple years ago. There's been a leadership change there, obviously, but I think beyond that, the coordinators are all the same. So systematically, don't expect them to change a lot, and that's what we'll try to get ready for right now. And obviously, work to get our first Big Ten win. I think both teams are certainly looking the same way in that direction. Kid captain is Wyatt Runnels, who's a 9-year-old from Cedar Rapids. He's had basically health challenges since birth, had a heart transplant at 6 months, if you can imagine that. And he's a healthy 9-year-old right now. I know he's really eager, at least I've been told he's eager to be on the field, have a chance to wave up to the hospital. We're certainly looking forward to having him with us on Saturday. And then, as Matt mentioned, really special weekend having Robert Gallery back and to see him honored. Very prestigious to be obviously selected to the National Football Foundation Hall of Fame. That's a big thing. And on top of that, to go into the Kinnick Stadium Ring of Honor, certainly just two great salutes to him, and very, very well deserved. He's one of the finest players I've ever been around, so it'd be great to have him back with us on the sideline. Expect a great crowd. It should be a great environment. It's our job right now to try to get ready here for the kickoff and see what we can do on Saturday, and I'll throw it up for questions.
The offense is ranked 100th or worse in a lot of key statistics. What realistically can you do in season to kind of right this ship?
Just try to get better in every phase, and there's really no magic answers, and see what we can do to just improve in each and every phase.
When you evaluate the offense, what's kind of been what are the areas that you're looking at specifically in the passing game that is just not measuring up to what you want or what players want either?
I would still attribute part of that an obvious answer, and I've said this for a while. Our starting quarterback got injured about 5-6 weeks ago. So for him to work back, he's missed a lot of time. He missed a lot of time last year. And then to work with this team, this group, it's all everything's connected. So the more we practice, the more we do better in practice, have better execution. Hopefully it'll show on the game field.
The wide receivers have been targeted 35 times over 4 games, 14 catches. What is it about the group that's not getting involved as much as just ball goes where it goes?
Yeah, I think part of that is the ball does go where it goes, and we've had 2 pretty good tight ends. Obviously, we're down 1 there, so that changes. And as a staff, that's something we're doing weekly, is just trying to figure out what's the best way we can do to help improve production offensively, and getting receivers involved probably makes some sense here as we move forward.
Can you do that conscientiously? I mean, like, do you go into a game saying, "Hey, we got to get our receivers more involved"?
It's more dictated personnel group. Who you have available. We were probably a little bit more 3 wide last week than prior. But at some point we still got to block, we got to protect, and then we got to throw and get open, obviously. So it's just it's just keep working here.
Kirk,
Better execution.
There were times you had a transfer quarterback, transfer tight end, and 2 transfer wide receivers out there on the field. Does that make it more challenging, maybe with communication and knowing that everybody's where they need to be?
Yeah, yes and no. I don't know necessarily in general terms, not necessarily, but I think if you look back again, Cade's work was limited. Obviously been limited the last 5-6 weeks here. It was limited in the spring, and then Seth didn't work at all in the spring. So we've had a lot of moving parts. Eric is very limited in the spring as well. So in a perfect world, we would have had whatever it's been now, 8-9 weeks here of cohesive work every day out there in the field. Just haven't had that. Keep working, but that it's not the only area we got to get better at. We got to get better at everything we're doing.
Regarding the offensive line, Coach Barnett has been around for 3 years now. Talked to Logan and Nick about him a little bit. They continue to add votes of confidence for him, and you did that in the preseason. What does he do well, and where does that confidence come from for Coach Barnett?
Confidence from me or from the players?
From both. Or
from the players, it's earned. You earn everything from your players, and it's just the way he is. It's a person he is, and the kind of coach he is. He's a tremendous football coach and outstanding human being. The players recognize that. I think they can tell. It's been a tough task. We've had our challenges up front. That's he walked into a very challenging situation. He's done a great job pushing it forward, and we'll just keep working.
What were your impressions on the O-line from watching the film on Saturday?
There wasn't a lot that looked good Saturday, quite frankly. Any area, maybe outside of Torrey's punting. If you had to find a highlight, that's probably it. And that's it's an important part about winning. But if that's all you got, then that's not going to be good enough. So there really wasn't. None of us performed well enough, coaches or players, well enough to be competitive and be successful.
How do you help your wide receivers become confident in the game plan if they're not really a part of it, or they're not contributing?
It's not that they're not part of it. The ball hasn't gone there for whatever reasons, but they're certainly critical. Just everybody is. All 11 people are critical out there. So we'll have to find a better way maybe to spread the ball a little bit. And again, Luke being out, and he's going to be out, so that's part of the deal. Just keep working and keep chipping away at it.
You
From
just
an injury
mentioned that
standpoint.
the coaches.
Okay, let me come back there. I'm sorry.
From an injury standpoint, aside from the kind of the existing ones with Luke, Caleb, Jazz, Kate mentioned that hand didn't seem to be too much of a problem. Did you get out Penn State mostly unscathed there?
Not too bad. We have a couple guys that are a little bit limited right now, but hopefully Saturday we'll have be at full strength other than the people you mentioned.
You just mentioned that the coaches had some areas of improvement in that Penn State game. What were some of the areas that they could improve on?
When we get judged on performance basically, and how the players perform, that's our job to get them ready. And that, clearly Saturday we were not competitive, compared to Penn State. It was just, a thorough beating, quite frankly, and that's what it was. So, we all got to do better. There's no magical, one area. It's just everybody's got to do a little bit better, a little bit more.
All the guys brought up the 24-hour rule, win or lose, and
Yep.
that's just part of this. But how important is it in your experience having that just one day to kind of sit in the stink, so to speak, and then get out after a game like Saturday?
Yeah, it's really important, but it's a lot easier. Like a lot of things, it's a lot easier to say it than do it. And losses tend to linger, and that was we took one. So you got to move past it, because what you can't do is let it impede what's going to happen this week. And clearly we need improvement in every area right now. We just all got to do a little bit better job, and that's we've been in that situation before. It's never fun. It's not easy to put it behind you. It's easier said than done. But that, at some point, you gotta do that so you aren't burning time on something that's already happened and wasting an opportunity maybe to get ready for this one.
When you talk about not seeing a lot encouraging from the O-line on Saturday, what do you feel like needs to change moving forward?
It's not any general area. It's just, they played better than we did. It's credit to them. We knew they were a good football team, and they played an outstanding game, so credit to them. It's not one specific thing. It's just, like I said, it's just pretty much across the board. We just didn't compete at the level we need to. We got a good taste of what it looks like, and now we got to try to get on the train and, get to that level.
You mentioned the running backs. You said they're out a week. Does that mean they'll be back for Purdue most likely, or is?
I don't even know. We'll take it week to week, as I said a couple weeks ago. I don't think we'll know. So if they were out for the season, I'd let you know that, but that's not the case. So hopefully sooner than later.
Is one better than?
It really doesn't matter. It's we'll take whoever's ready to go. We'll take them when they get back. Yeah.
Back to Scott's question. Like Saturday, Eric would almost targeted 7 times. Wide receivers combined 4. Is there an imbalance in the passive play calling and bias in favor of the tight ends, or is Cade not seeing the wideouts, or just more comfortable because he knows Eric better? What?
Yeah, I think there's always a little bit of that with every quarterback. They always have somebody they feel a little bit more comfortable with, and they obviously have played together. So I don't know if that's the entire story. That's probably part of the story. And we're going to continue to work to try to get the ball a little bit to everyone. But basically, you want to get it to where it's going to help you move the ball and score points.
What has Jay Higgins done so well this season?
He plays so hard. He prepares extremely hard. He plays extremely hard. He's totally invested, and I think he's done a great job being a leader on top of it. And that's something we were very cognizant of. You lose a guy like Jack Campbell, and you lose Seth Benson right there in the middle of the defense, and that's why going after Nick was so important. We just felt like he was a older guy that embodied some of those characteristics that maybe Seth and Jack had. So both those guys I think are playing well, and Jay's been here, so he knows the system. He really has been invested in it, and just really admire the effort he plays with.
Along those lines, with whether it's Jay, whether it's Jack before that, Welch, Jewell, probably missing a few down the line here. You had a strong track record at middle linebacker. What is it that has led to that consistent success in that position?
Selection's not the right word, but it just for us to be good defensively, that's just a critical position. Probably most teams are that way, but the way we're wired, if you go back historically, the guys up the middle are really a big part of what we do. So, if you have 2 inside linebackers or 2 safeties that can't tackle or won't tackle, it's not going to work too well. But I think, if you look over the long haul, that's kind of been a commonality, and so it takes the right kind of guy to be there. And all the guys we've had have been very different. You don't have many. Jack Campbell's a really unusual body type and all that, and he's an unusual person. But it's kind of like football. It's kind of like life. There's all kinds of shapes and sizes, all kinds of personalities. But the bottom line is, can that player play effectively at that position? And fortunately, to your point, we've been really lucky. We've had a lot of good ones at that spot.
Coach Blair's talking about the speech that Cade McNamara gave after the game and really fired up the team. Is that something that can kind of serve as a turning point in a season, just in your experience?
I think it's positive. Hopefully, you're always turning points are, we'll know those at the end of the year, go back and look. But it's a positive, certainly, and that's what you hope. Everybody's thinking, everybody's feeling, and the words that he spoke were pretty much, what I jotted down in terms of what I wanted to share with the team too. So I think we're all on the same page. I think we all know what we need to be doing and what we want to be doing. Now the trick is, can we go out and do it better week by week here?
What were those words you jotted down and wanted to say?
Basically, just kind of what I started out here, just at the start of the press conference. You stay together and you work for it, and that's really what it goes. And then, I think he also added, nobody wants to remember this feeling because you don't want to experience it again. And that's not to minimize anybody outside the the team framework of the team, but just again, I'll just go back. It's painful to lose. It's really painful, and the reason is these guys invest so much. It's just kind of the same thing I talk about when a player's injured and is going to miss time. That's what players work for. That's what they live for, is that opportunity to go out and compete. And so if you can't do it, that's disappointing. And then certainly if you come up short, that's not much fun either. And I know the fans aren't happy. I know that everybody's not happy. believe me, the players are less happy and the coaches are less happy because this is what we do. We live it.
You're playing a team this week that had a sudden coaching change. You'll play another one in a few weeks. Is there anything to be drawn from this that maybe people in your profession are just as have feet of clay as much as anybody else?
Yeah, you know, so not to make light of that, but I don't even know who it is in front of us that you just referenced.
Northwestern.
Okay, I got you. Okay, I did know about those two. I'm sorry. And I think first of all, the lesson learned is don't try to anticipate how that team's going to play because Northwestern's a great example. I think everybody had them dead and buried, and they didn't get that memo for sure. So yeah, it's a world we live in, and it started a while ago. I guess probably the one that was most prominent in my mind was USC making the change when they did last year, 2 years ago, whenever that would have been. But it's, you know, the more the world changes, I think the more, you know, we're moving in that direction. We're becoming a little bit more like the NFL.
This year, you hit the portal. You got a new quarterback and some wide receivers, tight end, and the constant kind of over the last few years is the scheme and the play caller. Has there been any discussion about altering either of those? Maybe making a change of play caller to change things up for different results, or?
That's not part of the plan, but every week we've done it for 24 plus years. After every game, you go back and look at what you did. What could you do better? Whether it's, you know, play calling, what are our thoughts going into the game, were those types of things, how the opponent match us. And yeah, I mean, you've been doing that for 24, 25 years, offensively, defensively, special teams. It's just part of what we do on Sundays, and then you shift over to the next opponent. So you know, I mean, yeah, we're just going to try to do better. I mean, there's really no simple answers or easy remedies. It's just a matter of execution, playing better, and you know, trying to do what our players are capable of doing a little bit better.
This team has been to 3 BCS bowls or New Year's State bowls.
Us or Michigan State? Talking about us? Okay.
Right,
Yep.
Yeah. 02, 09, and 15, and in each of those instances, within 2 years prior, the team was really not performing at a really high level execution-wise. So you've been through improvements before. You've said that there isn't really much in the way of like a magic tool or anything, but how do you get that level of execution and performance from, back up to the point where it's one of the best in the Big Ten?
Again, all I can do is speak to my experiences. That's really all I know. And then my experiences are based on things I've observed. I do try to pay attention. When it comes to football stuff, there's a lot of stuff I couldn't give you any opinion on or commentary. But so yeah, the way I choose to move forward, the way I choose to make my decisions is based on what I've witnessed other people do or not do. And going back to the concept of changing coaches, I'd love to do a study on that, how well that works out. I'm thinking about a situation in the NFL probably about 40 years ago where they went from the stern coach to the players coach, and it worked beautifully for 8 weeks, and then it was a total disaster a year later. So that's always something that's in the back of my mind. The idea is really just to figure out, at some point you got to understand what you believe in and what you think is important in terms of core things, and then try to make your adjustments around the around the periphery, if you will. But yeah, I think you stay the course and focus on improvement. And that's kind of what we've done. We've been in situations after 4 games where we've had a loss or 2 losses, and things turned out okay, despite as bad as it was or as hard as it was. Things turned out okay. But in that situation where it didn't turn out so well, nobody knows the answer. That's really the reality of this whole thing. So it's all about what are you going to do? All you can do is worry about today, trying to make today better, and then we'll turn the page tomorrow and try to have a great Wednesday practice, and then move from there. But to move the needle from here to there in 1 week's time, probably, it's just a matter of trying to do things a little bit better, and hopefully it'll show up on the field.
Kirk, you look around the country, spread offenses with throwing the ball just seems so much more prominent in nowadays game versus the past.
Yep.
See wide receivers put up crazy numbers, and then you go back to the wide receiver targets at Iowa, 35 through 4 games. I guess when you have guys in that room kind of see how productive other receivers are being, how do you kind of keep that room engaged with the game plan? How do you kind of approach it?
I don't have the sense that they're not engaged. I think we got a great group of guys in there, and Nico's a really good football player, veteran player. Dante's had a really nice play the other day. He's healthy, and I think he's confident and feeling good. And then we've got 2 guys that a little bit younger and developing. So, you know, I think that room's fine. And I'm not minimizing stats at all. Don't misread this, but you know, the biggest thing we're trying to do, the only stat we're really focused on is winning games. And it's not all about winning. I know it is for a lot of people, but it's not all about winning. But that's what we're trying to do each and every time we go out there. If there's a scoreboard, we're gonna try to win. And that's why you work hard for 9 months. So that's the stat that we look at every game, every situation. What's going to give us our best chance to win, and you know, those are decisions we'll continue to try to make as we go along.
In our world of news, artificial intelligence has been a big talking point in politics too. It's sort of trickled into the sports world. You get some of the social media videos of fake Kirk Ferentz and Matt Campbell. If you've seen those videos, do you have any thoughts, comments, frustrations?
Yeah, I heard one on the radio last Wednesday, I believe. Not regarding anybody in this building, but clever, you know, and they were almost sounded authentic. Maybe they were, for all I know. I don't know. I got some artificial intelligence in my head too, so maybe it was authentic. But it just, you know, as we get smarter, I think sometimes we get dumber, quite frankly. You know, I think that's one observation I'll make over the last X amount of decades. It's interesting. So, but it is clever. I mean, it's, you know, it's clever, entertaining, all that stuff. I mean, a lot of people must have a lot of time to do stuff. I promise you, we're not doing that stuff.
When you look at
It may look like it at times, but we're not, you know, doing that.
when you look at your opponent this week, you know, see a familiar face. How much influence does you think Mark D'Antonio will have on this program? And then, secondly, the battles that you guys waged for a decade or so were as physical as any I've seen.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, Mark, first of all, Mark did an outstanding job there, just an outstanding job. You think historically about, you know, Coach Burles going there in 83, and then, you know, Nick showed up there, whatever it was, 95, I guess, and then, you know, Mark having the impact he had. So, a lot of big wins. They had a lot of really good years. Amazingly, they ran the ball a lot, and, you know, threw their tight ends, all that stuff. But the commonality, you know, all three of those coaches I just mentioned believed in defense, and so the impact he'll have, I think he'll probably just give them some stability, and a really, it's got to be a, you know, challenging circumstance. So, you know, my guess is that's like his number one role, and then just being a good sounding board for Coach Barnett, you know, to give him somebody to bounce some ideas off of, I think would be, you know, just invaluable.
What was it like preparing for those teams and the games, some of the more legendary games in the Big Ten last 25 years took place?
Yeah, I mean, the first one that comes to mind is 09. Just, you know, it's a last play victory, and that kind of sums it up. Like, it was always tough, tooth and nail, and just always hard, physical. You know, they were a really good football team, and well, I guess then you go to the championship game too, same story. So that's kind of the way it was, and even going back to the 80s, we had some amazing games that, again, went down to the last minute. So it seems like when we get together, it's going to be a tough contest.
So are you worried about the amount of time the defense has been on the field through 4 games, and it's 20 snaps more per game than your offense? And what can you do to fix that?
Yeah, as much as anything, just, you know, to give it perspective, really, Saturday, just through, if you want to be a stat person, you know, Saturday's going to throw everything off the books, because we weren't out there on the field and we couldn't get off the field. So I said earlier, outside of the punting, you know, really wasn't a lot of good things to take from it. We didn't spend a hell of a lot of time on the film either, just for that reason. I don't think that's representative of who we are or where we're going. We'll find out. Time will tell on that one too. But yeah, no, I'm not. To answer your question, we'll just keep playing.
Social media is just kind of part of society now.
Yeah, I've noticed that. At least I've heard about it. Let me rephrase that. I've heard about it.
What are the challenges that come with having to deal with that outside negativity, and do you offer any advice to the guys of how to
All
deal
the time, yeah, all the time. I'd be a fool not to acknowledge it. I don't look at it, and I don't partake in it, and you know. So, but I'd be a total fool not to acknowledge it and understand the importance. I know this. I know it's important to a lot of people, and most of the people that I work with on a daily basis, especially the younger people, boy, I tell you, I know it's a huge part of their life. So, yeah, if we weren't given some advice, or at least, you know, trying to address that a little bit. And I haven't read it, and I don't know what the narrative. I think I could probably figure out what the narrative, or take a good educated guess at it. So my point there is just like, you know, you got to really consider the voices, consider the sources, and really worry about what is pertinent to your life and your job and what you're trying to accomplish here. So yeah, that's kind of what it is.
Is that what you tell them? Or
Yeah,
is that-
yeah, absolutely. And it could be people that love them, but they probably don't know the whole story or every little detail, that type of thing. And how could they? Why would they? So it's there's a lot of moving parts with what we do, and I think the biggest thing is just stay focused on what we're trying to accomplish, and stay focused on trying to improve.
Just one or two more.
You've had those great battles with Mark's MSC teams. What do you remember about 2010 though, when everything swings your guys' direction? You're up 30 to
Yeah, and then they returned the favor a couple years later. Those you don't usually see coming. It's kind of like Saturday. We had a good week last week, and I felt like we were ready to go. But it didn't work out that way, and I'll tell you, there's nothing fun about it. And you coach long enough, whether it's Arizona State, could cite a couple. Remember being in Pittsburgh on a Sunday night in 1995. I think we hit a slant play for 50 yards, had it called back, and that was the end of the night. Like, it was a slaughter after that, and somehow we still played. You keep going. So, just you don't see those ones coming. Sometimes that's what's crazy about sports and crazy about football. You don't always know what's going to happen, and if you're on the right side, there's nothing better. If you're on the wrong side, not so good.
Kirk, has your philosophy since you started coaching, head coach, has it changed much on how you believe the best way to win football games over the long haul? Not the emotional up and downs from the week, but it seems like you've stuck to your guns and you believe in the system that you've.
I think you have to. And again, I didn't pretend to know everything in 1999 when I got here. And I certainly don't at this point. In fact, I think most of us could tell you the more experience you get, the more you figure out, boy, there's a lot of things going on that need some clarity on. But yeah, as I said earlier, at some point you got to have some beliefs, and you continually examine those, you re-examine those, and probe and prod and all that kind of stuff. But you got to be true to something, and I think that's life in general. You got to be true to something, and all I know is what I see with our players on a daily basis, what I see with our coaching staff, and I just, I guess I'm an optimist to some degree, and history has taught me that if you just keep pushing forward, maybe some good things will happen. If you got to give yourself a chance, though, and it's just a matter of you can't worry about bad things, missteps along the way, because what we do is extremely challenging, extremely competitive, and to think we're going to skate through it undefeated, as much as we try and we want to, you always have to be prepared to deal with the opposite end of it, and it's all you can do. So you analyze it, you learn from it, and then hopefully you move on and improve from there.
Okay.